All right. So I wanted to focus mostly on sort of Grandpa and Gummy, Big Island of Hawaii, that kind of time frame. And then from there, kind of into your growing up. And I know you guys went back and forth from Hawaii to Seattle at least once or twice, but I don't know the details on that. So first question, I know they met and were married in Hilo.
Well, let's back up. Dad was in the Army, joined the Army when he was probably 16 or 17. And in the, what do they call it, coastal defense. And he eventually was transferred to Fort Casey on Whidbey and was in charge of these guns that went down into a sump, and they came up and fired and came back and reloaded.
The big coastal guns.
Yes.
The disappearing guns.
They were in the round things, Well, those are all gone. The one that's there came from the Philippines, but it was the same gun. Mm-hmm. Dad was the guy that set the elevation, and he was right beside the barrel, and his left hearing suffered as a result. But anyway, they transferred this division to Hawaii, and they were, of course, with much smaller guns, but they were mounted, among other things, on railway cars on Oahu. And I get that far as Dad's military. Then Mom was a school teacher, having graduated from Coopville High School. She went to Bellingham Normal School, which was today Western Washington. And after 2 years, you were a certified teacher. And she ended up, I think, in down by Olympia. Anyway, for some reason, she was on vacation this one summer. Don't know what year it was, but it had to be 25 probably. Went to Hawaii. I have no idea who introduced them. All I know was it was instant. Dad proposed in 3 days. Everything was go from there. I don't know that date. I don't think they were married in Hilo. The Big Island, yes. But I'm not sure Hilo. So, Dad, when he was at Fort Casey, the Army, well, when it was harvest time, the Army would release a certain group that wanted to work on the farms to help get a crop in. And I think that Dad was one that worked on the Ingle farm, which was directly across the road from the Nuttall farm. I mean, straight across. Anyway, so he knew Whidbey. He used to talk about going to dances at Langley. Some of the soldiers, one of the soldiers must have had a Model T Ford, and they get about 2/3 the way down the island to Langley, where the dance was, and they came to this hill, and this year the cars didn't have a fuel pump, so going uphill wasn't going to happen.
Right.
So they had to turn around and back up the hill. Anyway, that's one of the stories he told about Whidbey. And that's about all I know about.
So Grandpa wasn't born on Whidbey?
He was born in Illinois.
Okay.
Yeah,
What year would that have been?
'05.
1905, okay.
Yeah, April 28. His mother died when he was about 2. His father, I think, disappeared before he was born. I don't know if they were married or not. He just didn't exist until I think I had the grocery store, so Dad was still in Hawaii, and he got a letter from this fella. I'm your father. I think he was in Yakima at the time, and blah, blah, blah. And Dad took huge offense, said, you're no father to me, get lost, I have no interest, goodbye, get lost. Never heard another word.
Yeah.
So he was raised by grandparents and aunts and uncles.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so now I know that I think you and I were out delivering pianos long ago, and we were down at the foot of Queen Anne Hill, and we went around an intersection, and you pointed at the building and said, that was where Grandpa's grocery store was.
It was at Queen Anne and Mercer.
Okay.
When the counterbalance came down, and when it hit Queen Anne Avenue flat, one more block, and it was
Queen
at
Anne
that
Mercer.
intersection.
Okay.
It was an ex-Safeway store.
But I also remember, and I can't remember if it was you that told me this, or maybe Grandpa might have told me one of the times that he had that store in Seattle, but previously he'd had a store in Oahu, and then he went back. It seems like there was sort of some back and forth times. Am I remembering that right? Is that correct?
Well, when the folks were married, and it must have been 27 when they came this way.
Okay. So
And one of his first jobs was in a very small neighborhood store on top of Queen Anne Hill. And it was one of these deals where housewife came in with a list, and the grocer filled a bag of this and this, came out on the counter, wrote up the sales slip, the old
style,
way.
yeah.
And he, I guess, was recognized doing a good job, and he was offered, Safeway must have bought this particular store, I think, because they offered him a store or a job in California. And at this point, I think Mom was pregnant with me. Anyway, they headed for California, and it wasn't very long, and Mom was in distress. Morning sickness, and
Sure.
she wanted to be home, and so he gave up that job, and they came back. He went back to this little dinky store in Queen Anne, and they said, well, young man, you've had your opportunity. That's it. You're on your own.
They didn't hire him back?
No.
Interesting.
No.
Interesting.
So, again, that's about, I came along soon after.
Yep.
Yeah, Dad told me many times he put on his very best clothes and went job seeking, and Ford Motor Company was doing some final assembly of the Model Ts down on the foot of Lake Union. The building is still there. And they gave Dad a job doing upholstery on jump seats.
Okay.
Now this is the one that
Yeah,
folded down and folded up so you could get in the back.
Yep.
Okay. And he was with Ford doing that probably at the time I was born. And they recognized his work, and as time moved along, they offered him a job in sales. And he did quite a bit of traveling in the state, introducing new features and talking to dealers and whatnot. And at some point in time, probably 34, 4 probably, this opportunity with Kellogg came up as a salesman in the area, which he accepted, And,
Kellogg, like cereals, right?
pardon?
Kellogg cereals? Is that what you
Yeah,
said?
W.K. Kellogg and
Okay.
cornflakes,
Yep,
Rice
cornflakes,
Krispies.
yep.
And he was with them in about 37, doing just fine. And this fellow that was in Hawaii representing Kellogg pocketed some company money and took off and left them with no rep in Hawaii. And somehow or other they knew Dad was from Hawaii, or had been, and they called him back to Battle Creek. It must have been 37. Offered him this Kellogg rep for the territory. And he accepted, and in 38, early, we were on our way to Hawaii on the Lurleen, the Matson liner. And his job was to call on the wholesale houses, call on the retail stores, call on the military and the army, the mess sergeants. He usually carried a container with recipes for cooking for large quantities, He also called on the Navy. Forgotten what they call the cooks, but got onto many, many ships in Pearl Harbor and called on them. And that brings us kind of up to December 7th.
I love to tell that story to people. I tell
Oh, yeah.
a shorter version, but people are always like, because, maybe I'm going a little far afield here, but I'm thinking, I know that the incoming planes were detected on radar, but the people said, no, because coincidentally, they were expecting a flight from California. But I'm still thinking, you just might be the first person on Oahu that saw them. I mean, it's not out of the realm of possibility, is it?
I could have been.
You could have been, yeah.
If this is Oahu, this is north.
Okay.
And this was a point called Kaena Point. Honolulu was down in here.
Yep.
Pearl Harbor, Diamond Head.
Yep.
And this is Kailoa side over here. And the ships came across and came down this way and unloaded. There were 6 carriers Each carrier had about 50 planes, 50 to 60.
Mm-hmm.
And they had, the first wave came down at around Canada Point to hit Pearl Harbor.
Okay.
And it was when
Interesting.
it was when they were coming along this camp that I was at.
Like Haleiwa area? Haleiwa?
Haleiwa,
yeah.
yes. Was a YMCA camp, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful beach, a fun place for summer, you know. This plane came putting along the water line, you know.
Okay.
Which, and then on the property, not far from the water, back, now the camp was fairly new and rather basic.
Mm-hmm.
They had little cabins that would hold about 10 kids and one adult. And then there was a building that had kind of a recreation building, food, entertainment. And then there was a cottage for executive cottage, whatever.
Sure.
Just a simple cottage. And this plane came along, and this was when I was sent out to cut some kindling in the back.
Was it Grandpa that sent you out?
Yes, he always got up early to cook breakfast.
Okay.
And this was a wood stove, and there was smoke coming out of the chimney. And I think this one plane, there was only one, no more,
Okay.
just went, you know, on his route.
Yep.
And a few seconds later, he pulled the trigger again. And those are the ones that I saw hit the sand. He missed the house. The first ones hit the house.
Oh.
Yeah, they hit the roof.
Wow.
And, you know, for a long time I thought this had to be a zero. But I kind of changed my thinking because I don't know what was exactly in a zero in terms of a gun, a machine gun.
Right.
But for a pilot to shoot at 90 degrees seemed kind of absurd. The other planes that were used, and there were 3, some had 2 people, some had 3.
Like maybe a turret gun of some sort that could.
Well,
that could shoot.
they had a gunner on one of them, so you see he could turn.
Yep.
Chances are it was not a zero. It was same size plane.
Mm-hmm.
They were all fairly small. Planes designed in the 30s. By that time, you know, Japan had invaded China, and they were rambling down through South. They said they were after natural resources, like oil, and this was a diversion tactic that they thought would keep us so busy, way far away, would leave them alone to continue their rampage. The interesting thing is that, yes, there were 6 carriers, and the boats left Japan right after Thanksgiving, and they traveled all the way across the Pacific, but it was more than 6. There were 65 boats involved.
Like destroyers, etc., sort of protecting the
There
carriers.
were battleships,
Yep.
light cruisers, heavy cruisers, submarines,
Yep.
Destroyers, 60 and service vessels, 65 total. they steamed back to Japan, and nobody had picked them up coming across. Now the morning, Sunday, we had a early version of radar, and I can't explain it, but it was, they detected something and reported it, and it kind of laid in a wire basket. It didn't go anywhere. Yeah, we had some planes coming in from California. Must be them. No thought whatsoever.
So Pearl Harbor happens. How long after that before Grandpa left Kellogg's and started his first store? Didn't he had a grocery store in Oahu, though, didn't he?
Not at that point.
Okay.
We left Kellogg's and came this way. To stop and think, what year was it? 42.
Okay.
We were on our way to Frisco at Christmas 42. And he had sold the house that they had built, I think, in 39. And so when he got up here, I don't know exactly what he did first, but soon after, he found this store for sale at Queen Anne Mercer. That was a Jewish family that owned it at that time, and he negotiated a purchase on it. And he had that store all during the war years, so that would be 43, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, at least those years when I was in high school. In the meantime, he had a fellow working for him that he wanted to move up, so he acquired a store at 185th in Aurora, and it was a small grocery store, not very big, and it later became a gas station, as I remember. Anyway, he put this fellow as his manager, and he owned that for maybe 2 years. Until I graduated high school. I know I worked in that store on Saturdays, just sorting bottles and stocking shelves, usual stuff. Then that fella eventually moved to La Corner and put a store in there. In a different story.
Yeah.
Anyway, so in 47, after high school graduation, again we were back in Hawaii. Dan had the idea of setting up a small wholesale operation.
Like a small Associated Grocers, sort of. Like.
Very.
Yeah.
And he acquired a van that he refurbished here, repainted and dolled up, and that was his delivery truck. And he did have a building, and he managed to acquire the macaroni company in Seattle.
Oh.
Well known. Anyway,
Yeah.
they said, yes, we'll ship you our products. You can be our rep. And so he had that to start with. Not a heck of a lot else. But in that first year, he also was offered his grocery. A building not directly downtown, but on its way from town to Waikiki, about halfway.
Okay.
It was on a main thoroughfare. And he took the grocery department and he started buying groceries locally, but mainly from here.
From Seattle.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And the store took off like a herd of turkeys. It was about the first store in Honolulu that started to look like a supermarket. You know, most stores were very small. Little neighborhood stuff in them. This was not huge, but we had 3 check stands, I think it was.
Yeah.
And it took off really well.
I'm thinking though, you know, was there trans-Pacific telephone lines in place at that time, or was everything done by mail? So I'm thinking the lead time for him to have to think, okay, I need to order such and such for, let's say, the Christmas season. He'd have to be placing that order like in September, you know, to send the letter to Seattle. You know what I'm saying? And then all the shipping time.
Well, we had telephone service.
So there was service to the mainland.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Eventually, when he got into the store, one of the big sellers in Hawaii is canned milk, evaporated, and the only seller is Carnation, because in people's minds, it wasn't coming from an animal, coming from a flower, I guess. Anyway.
But that was Carnation, Washington, wasn't it? Wasn't it named after? Yeah.
But the others didn't sell at all. One day, the head of Associated Grocers called Dad and said, "Look, the price of this Carnation milk is going up 50 cents a case. How many do you want?" And Dad placed an order for 1,000 cases.
To get in on before the price change.
Yes. And when they arrived, came off the dock. This was when we had loose stow. We didn't have containers.
Sure.
And they were flatbed trucks, and the boxes were all piled on there. They'd trundle up to the store, and I know I lost 15 pounds just unloading these.
Yeah. 1,000 cases. So that was good. All right. But a ton of work to get them in.
I'll never forget that.
And that was down, you say it was between downtown and Waikiki. Somewhere in that general vicinity.
Are you familiar with the city? Well, it was Kapiolani Boulevard.
Okay.
And on the next big street over was the entrance to McKinley High School. Okay. And the playfield and whatnot was right across the street from Kapiolani Boulevard. And down 2 blocks down this was Kodak Hawaii. Did all the processing of color film.
Gotcha.
Yeah. It was a main thoroughfare.
Yeah. So you were born in Seattle, though?
Correct.
Okay. I couldn't remember if it was Seattle or Hawaii.
Providence. Well, that was the Providence Hospital. Yeah.
Thanks, Joe.
Yeah, it's part of...
that was 47, 48. How many years then was that the primary thing that he did? Was that 47 through The 50s?
We went back to Hawaii, and I was at the U for that school year, fall of 47 to June of 48. Came to UW in 48 in the fall. And he continued with that. It was interesting. They bought this piece of property where they built the second house. And I think they also had purchased the adjacent lot. That was to be me. And, about this time, my sis was having her days, and the folks, she was getting to be a little wild. And
how old would she have been?
oh, she's a couple of years younger than I am. As she grew up, they wanted to control just about everything. Who she went with, who she married, where she lived, what church they went to. It was just, and I could see it, and I, in my mind, said, I'm not going to get tangled up like that, you know. So.
Was that kind of what made you think I'm going to go to the UW as opposed to going to school in Hawaii?
Oh, yeah, well, your mom was
okay.
The big factor.
I see.
Yeah.
So there's a picture, one of the pictures that you gave all of us kids. It's an older picture. You're probably 20, 21, and you're in a uniform, a military uniform of some sort, or at least it looks like a uniform. What would that have been?
By myself or with Joe?
No, that was just you. This was when you were maybe 20, 21, early 20s, I'm guessing.
Well, the University of Hawaii is a land-grant college, and I can't explain it, but land-grant colleges apparently have to support the military with, what do they call it? The program, geez.
ROTC?
ROTC.
Got it, okay.
Okay. So, Hawaii had ROTC, and they definitely issued its full uniforms. Never forget. This was right after the war, and these shirts were real heavy-duty cotton, and one side went way over and buttoned, and the other side, it was like it was designed for the North Africa with sandstorms or something. Hotter than hell. And we were out marching at 7 o'clock in the morning, you know. Washington is also land grant, so I was in ROTC there also. And
how many years do you think total were you taking, like, was it officer training, right? Reserve officer training corps or something like that?
Well, it's basic military. It's when you get into advanced, the second 2 years, you pretty much agreed to stay in the military for 4 years.
Right,
and,
right. Because they put the
and
time in.
they had a Navy program and an Army program.
Right. And
I finished 1 year here, second year of ROTC, and I had to go in for a physical for advanced. And said I was having some problems with my lower back, and we'll get some x-rays. So they took x-rays. The next thing I knew, well, first of all, it was at a time when you had to register, and you get a card and said you're
for the draft.
It's time for you to appear for the draft. Well, I got a card that said, "You're 4F. Discontinue your military course." 4F was not eligible for military.
On medical grounds.
Well, there's a big long word, but it's irregularity of the spinal column.
Gotcha.
And
Yeah. All right. So last question, I think, for today. So I know that Grandpa had his grocery business, but then I know he also mentioned that he had a laundry business, and you've mentioned a laundry business.
Yes.
It had to do with coin-op machines on bases or something like that?
Okay, this was... I was here, probably... I could even have been early grocery at that time. I don't know how he got started with washers and dryers, but he ended up, most of them, on the military bases, where the guys could throw in their dungarees or whatever, and it was up to him to keep them running, service them, take the money out, and put in more machines if needed. And then he sold that business. And the guy ran it for a period of time. And he sold it back to Dad. And I think they did it twice. About the same time he got into bubble gum machines. That was a huge loser. Yeah. He was good at keeping busy doing something.
Yeah.
We all flew to Hawaii on Pan American. And I remember the two girls, you know, when you flew at that time, you were dressed up, and the girls looked elegant. And the stewardesses had some wings.
I remember them getting wings.
Gave them to the girls to go down the aisle and pass them out. This is the year that Sis cornered me and she said, "You gotta help me. I'm smothered." It was a case of folks were controlling everything. Where they lived, the church they went to, the job they had, and she had the three boys at that time. In fact, she may have remarried by then. I'm not real sure. This fellow, Crockett. Anyway, I think it was 65, made arrangements to get her up here. And, yeah.
How are my cousins? I there's a part of me I'm like, how did I ever just completely lose track of them? But, you know.
Well, the oldest one, Steve, he died.
He did, okay.
Michael and David, just occasionally a Christmas card, and that's about it.
Yeah. Do you know if they're living in this rough Western Washington area, or did they?
Oh, they're both in the area.
Interesting.
But, well, when the whole family first arrived here, they had a house in Lake Forest Park, and your mom came up to Christmas time, and, you know, here was my sis and her kids, and she went way overboard in Christmas presents and whatnot. And Sis basically said, don't want that much togetherness for some reason. Can't tell you why. And that kind of started the, okay.
Yeah, a little distance there.
Yeah.
Yeah.